We had to run, and it's still extremely tense here. More firecrackers now, and more stun grenades. You can just see how this case crystallises the current tensions in Jerusalem. You can just soak up the beauty here. That's why people want to come, of course, but it's so sad at the same time. I heard how it unravelled layers of the past and showed you more about a fractured region. Directly below here is where they had tunnelled underneath the prison walls to this point where they dug up through the earth. He grew up with Zubeidi. The boys were in a drama group in Jenin camp, later known as the Freedom Theatre.
Guys grow up and you start to see this drama group is become an armed resistance leaders in the camp.
بلدي إن شاء الله أشوفها قبل ما أموت.
This is the closest contact these relatives can make, distraught from a current war, distanced by an old one. Nabil and Muna, father and daughter, here for decades, they could be evicted in days.
Although I'm strong, but I feel weak because I'm facing a whole government.
But their neighbour, an 89-year-old woman, didn't make it. She's seriously injured. Her carer died in the strike. And the sirens are near non-stop in towns close by. Okay, that's an interception. Let's get in. Jimmy.
Tom, we can see the destruction where you are, a very tense situation.
Absolutely, Rita. I mean, as you've come to me, we've just literally had an air raid siren that is now finished. We're hearing rocket interceptions. There is. Then Israel's longest-serving leader leaves his office, not yet for the final time. Mr. Netanyahu, is this your last week as Prime Minister? Will this be your last week as Prime Minister?
Is that a wish or a question?
في خط الدفاع الأول مع أبناء شعبنا في الدفاع عن القدس فنحن ببنادقنا وصواريخنا ومقاتلين جاهزين.
You fire rockets at civilians, at children, and that's a war crime.
لسنا نحن الإرهابيين، من اغتصب الأرض هو الإرهابي.
And the first images inside the Grace 1. These pictures, obtained exclusively by the BBC, show the crew seeming relaxed. They are mostly Indian nationals, still working with the ship held under armed guard. This ship was carrying 2 million barrels of oil. It had charted a course for Banyas. Banyas is a sanctioned entity by the EU. The captain should have known that, shouldn't he?
We don't share that view at all.
Lebanon was in a deep crisis financially in terms of its currency well before the explosion. The point about places like this is they were the hardest hit before the blast even happened. You were carrying your newborn baby and your husband on a stretcher made of the parts of the ceiling that had fallen down. Just what did you think was happening?
I just thought I want to save my newborn and my husband. This was my mission.
So why do people talk about the explosion adding to the tensions here? I headed to a stronghold of support for Hezbollah. Nadine is now a widow. She told her husband she was pregnant the day he died in the blast. I think the main thing is that this is not just about isolated incidents. When you come here and you speak to people, you're really struck by how this is a way of life, a low-level conflict. People feel intimidated, under threat. Now his mum, Tahrid, takes him home, the first time she's been back to the house the family built. Here the work is clearing bomb sites. And from this point, you get such a sense of the power, the force that was involved in bringing this building down. Meanwhile, people walk past and these days they're barely batting an eyelid. It's just another toppled building in Gaza. This is another person being brought in as the protests at the fence continue. The problem is that each of these cases, as the numbers build up, require specialist surgical skills in a healthcare system already under pressure and which lacks doctors. That's a tear gas canister being thrown back by one of the protesters. You can see the Israeli points on the other side of the perimeter fence. These are sniper positions.
بسمع حس الجيش بمرق بموت من الخوف بكون بمشي فبستدرج افتح الباب.
It lifts the pressure for Israel's security forces. Hearing of the recapture, Palestinians sense a kind of return to the norm. A place where the generations change, but their story stays the same.